Hello, theatergoers. I'm Ali Eppy. You might recognize me from other desert cities as Polly. In this time of social distancing and shelter in place, we think about community, connection, and kindness. In that spirit, I present A Sense of Place. November 22nd, 1963, President Kennedy's assassination. The nation is glued to the TV. I, on the other hand, am moving from my tiny hometown to New York City. It doesn't occur to me to postpone the move. I'm determined to be on my own. In hindsight, I wish I had been part of the national mourning. I'm lucky to find a rent-controlled 400 square foot apartment in Lower Manhattan. My apartment shares a wall with Vesuvio Bakery. The bakery owner, Tony Dapper, is renowned in New York for his community service over decades. His mother, La Signora, is always behind the counter, her gentle smile compensating for her heavily accented English. This is a closed neighborhood where they've known each other for generations. I'm one of the first outsiders to move in. The tavern on the corner sets out a spread on Sundays like a scene from The Sopranos. That's where I meet Paulie, the neighborhood attorney who lives with his mother. A squat man, he wears shiny suits, a bad toupee, and his face is always sweaty. He tries to recruit me to be a call girl. With your looks and personality, you could make good money, $100 an hour. What if I get arrested? I'll get you out in an hour. Trust me. It's hard to make ends meet on a secretary's salary of $90 a week, but the prospect of having sex with someone like Paulie? No. I keep eating Chef Boyardee, and he keeps recruiting. Down the street, Mikey runs a hole-in-the-wall candy store as unkempt as he is. You want a cup of coffee? Remind him to make a fresh pot. Next door is Vito, the dapper tailor, who loves to talk about his glory days as a numbers runner for the mob. He loves also sharing a first name with Vito Genovese, who used to live in the neighborhood. Like a broken record, he tells the story of the young bride who catches Genovese's eye. He's determined to have her. Not long after, her husband is found with his throat slit on the roof of the building. 2 weeks later, he marries the widow, according to the tailor. Around the corner is the Chinese laundry. Each week I bring in 2 sheets, 2 pillowcases. Each week he charges me a different amount. It's futile to argue. Down the block is St. Anthony's, the oldest Catholic church in New York. It's run by the Franciscans, who walk the neighborhood in brown hooded robes and sandals. The nuns are rarely seen outside the convent. In June, it's St. Anthony's Feast, where the streets are closed to traffic, white lights are hung overhead, music blares through the night, and clouds of smoke rise from grills, sizzling with sausage and peppers. People walk around with oil-soaked bags full of zeppoli, donut holes bathed in powdered sugar. Now in Little Italy, in September, it's the Feast of San Gennaro, more well-known, draws crowds of tourists. If you don't live in my neighborhood, you don't know about the Feast of St. Anthony, and that's how the locals like it. My mother says that my move is an affront to my father's memory. Your father worked his fingers to the bone to get out of the Lower East Side, and what do? First chance you get, you move right back. My mother's sense of geography lumps everything below 14th Street into the Lower East Side. I'm delighted to live in close proximity to Greenwich Village, Little Italy, Chinatown, the Bowery, and the Lower East Side. It's exciting to shop on a Sunday, to get a 15-cent pickle from the pickle stand on Delancey, to walk around my father's neighborhood. It looks just like it did at the turn of the century, only the push carts are missing. to get a fresh baked almond cookie in Chinatown for 25 cents, to sing at the top of my lungs in the empty canyon of Wall Street and hear the echo, to ride the Staten Island ferry and see the Statue of Liberty, a whole day of exercise and local color for under $1. The art scene in Greenwich Village is flourishing. Coffee shops have poetry readings. Art shows pop up. Bob Dylan and Joan Baez are just getting their start. Yoko Ono, who's married to Tony Cox, my building superintendent, is gathering a reputation for her avant-garde happenings. The Fantastics is starting its 4th year at the Sullivan Street Playhouse, and Washington Square Park is full of performers of all kinds. There's no one my age in my neighborhood, so I go solo to the jazz clubs in the Village and what's now Tribeca. In the mid-60s, it's perfectly okay to walk around at all hours of the day and night. 2:30 one morning, I'm walking home from a Nina Simone concert at the Village gate. Someone's following me. Do I go to the police station? No. Do I go to a well-lit area? No. With the arrogance of a 20-something, I walk down a deserted street to make sure I am being followed. Just before I get to my corner, I turn around. He's about 20 feet away from me. I can't see his face. He might be a stalker, or he might be some poor son of a bitch just taking a walk. It doesn't matter. I yell a profanity-laced assessment of his manhood and his relationship with his mother. He turns and runs, and that's the end of my late night walks. In a city of almost 8 million, there can be isolation and alienation, and there can be instant community. November 1965, the East Coast blackout, at the time the largest blackout in history. It hits Manhattan in the middle of rush hour. It's eerie to ride on the bus, the headlights being the only illumination. We all have to get off at Washington Square Park, several stops shy of my neighborhood. On every corner are good Samaritans like little Boy Scouts helping people cross the streets. We talk to each other as I ditch my 3-inch heels and walk home barefoot. In my building, we empty our refrigerators, grab our candles, and have a potluck in the lobby. And from then on, we are blackout buddies. March 31st, 1968. LBJ announces he will not seek re-election. People pour into the streets, chanting and laughing and hugging and dancing. I join in, thrilled to be part of a progressive national tribe. In between those two historical events is an act of kindness that still makes my heart smile. My sister, living in Portugal, sends a telegram. She needs $200. Western Union only takes cash, and banks aren't open on the weekends. I rush to Mikey's, check in hand. Oh, I'd like to help you, Ali, but I don't keep that kind of cash. Go to the liquor store up the street. I've never been there. They don't know me. Just tell them Mikey says it's okay. I dash to the liquor store, convinced it won't work. I tell them what Mikey said, and without a word, the owner opens the cash register and hands me the money. In the enormity of New York City, I have found an enclave where people help people in crisis, whether they know each other or not. An update. After I moved to California in 1970, the neighborhood is gentrified, and it's now known as Soho. Empty factory buildings morph into multi-million-dollar lofts, and John F. Kennedy Jr. and Maya Lin are among those who move in. Eitan Pates, the first child pictured on a milk carton, is abducted at my corner. His body is never found. Yoko Ono leaves her husband and marries John Lennon. After Tony Dappolito's death, Vesuvio Bakery changes hands. They sell pastry, no Italian bread. And my little apartment is a juice bar. The insular neighborhood I love is no more. P.S. September 11th, 2001. Like everybody else, I'm glued to the TV, horrified. I reach for my ring that I got at 21 in the village that I wear all the time. It's nowhere to be found. 3 weeks later, I fly to New York to give a previously scheduled seminar. From my lodgings in Greenwich Village, I can see and smell the smoke still rising from the pile. I spend time at Ground Zero, watching the excavation and looking at the photographs and urgent messages posted on the fence at St. John's Chapel. I'm determined to get a new ring. I go to the jewelry center Midtown. The shops are deserted. Each jeweler thanks me for not letting the tragedy keep me away. As I head back to the village, wearing my new ring, I pause to look at the subway map, and several passers-by stop and ask, "Do you need some help?" So much for New York's reputation as an unfriendly place. This ring is similar to the original. It has a deeper meaning for me now. I love the community of Santa Cruz, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a connection to my roots.